everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for fans by a fan. Joining me tonight is some of the best fans, including one who's got a little bit of insight into what we'll be discussing. It is time for the fan show roundtable discussion, the Royal Rumble. We've got some friends from the Twitter sphere, Shayne Merriman of WrestleHolics, Peter Avalon, professional wrestler, you guys remember hearing from him, and Amanda, the Kayfabeulous one. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Peter, how's life out on the road? And
I'm doing great. Right now I get to relax and chit-chat with you guys. I'm laying down here in my bed. I feel good.
And Shayne, looks like things have been going pretty well for you with WrestleHolics, so I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, we're off to a pretty hot start. I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, perfect then. So we've got a lot to talk about, and I know that you guys, we did this last time before Survivor Series, and we were just going to kind of feel it out. Went for like 90 minutes. Not going to do that to you guys tonight. We'll just, hopefully we can keep it an hour or less. But I know that a lot of you have opinions on Raw 25, so like, most of us have aired out our grievances on Twitter as far as if we loved it or hated it, and it looked like a lot of us weren't very happy with it. But if there's anyone who wants to get any last things off their chest, any grievances about Raw 25, now would be the time. So I know, Peter, talking to you, you got through like the first two segments and then you dozed off. Have you had a chance to watch any more of it?
I unfortunately haven't been able to. I think I don't have cable at the house that I'm at right now, and I went over to a friend's house and was watching it, and I dozed off on the couch. I blame more so the long day as opposed to the presentation, but that's just me, I guess.
Well, I'll be honest. The first segment for me was probably the best part of the night. I thought things started off well. There was no pyro, no intro video, which was disappointing, but I guess that's the WWE in 2018. But then the rest of it, I was a little bit disappointed in. We'll see if anybody else shares my thoughts. Shayne, your take on Raw 25.
I thought it was good for what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to just be kind of a nostalgic throwback kind of show, which it was. Was it the best episode of Raw? No. Was it the best build for the Royal Rumble? Definitely not. But as far as what it was supposed to be, just kind of a nostalgic look at all the guys that used to be here type show. I thought it lived up to its purpose, and it was actually a pretty good, entertaining episode.
All right, and Amanda, your thoughts on Raw 25?
I actually loved it. I felt like exactly what it did. Like, it was a nostalgia show. I felt like I was a kid again. Like, when Stone Cold came out, I was jumping on my couch.
I feel like that was a pretty common feeling with everybody. Like I said, the first segment was great. Now, I kind of thought there was going to be like some kind of special mashup as far as like the theme songs go going into that, but that didn't happen. They did start out the way that Raw and SmackDown have started for the last several months, which is no theme song, to the point where I don't even know why each show has one anymore. And then in the ring with someone, it happened to be Stephanie and Shayne, and then they did a bit with Mr. McMahon, because that is the character that he was that night. Not Vince, he was very much Mr. McMahon. And then Stone Cold came out, there was beer, there was stunners, everything seems fine. I will say, though, that the dual venue thing really could have worked, but it didn't. And I would have just alternated back and forth every other...
It really didn't work.
What was that? Peter, was that you?
It's heartbreaking for those people.
Oh, Peter's breaking up a little bit. Peter, you there?
Well,
all right,
I'll jump in until we get Peter back.
Okay.
Yeah, the dual location thing didn't really work out that well. I don't think it went the way WWE planned for it to go. But at the same time, they didn't do themselves any favors by... It didn't look like they booked both locations to work that well. From what I can understand, most of the Manhattan Center just sat there and watched Raw on the screen. So basically, they paid $800 to do what they could have done at home, but they also got to see Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy link up. I saw that on Snapchat. They came out and did a little segment together in the ring. The Miz came out after he won the IC title, and then they got a Lince Dorado match for whatever reason. Lince Dorado came out and wrestled in front of the Manhattan, but that was basically all they got except for the segments we got to see on TV. And the only really good segment they got was the DX and Bullet Club Too Sweet at the end of the show. That was the only good segment the Manhattan Center got, really. So I would be really pissed off if I was at the Manhattan Center expecting a good show on Raw 25 and got what I got.
Especially for a $500 ticket.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, they could have at least given the Manhattan Center the Dudley Boys putting Heath Slater through a table. If nothing else, they could have at least given them that instead of putting that in the Brooklyn Center.
Yeah, I thought Dudley's would have for sure been a Manhattan Center segment. I don't know if I agree with the setup for them. With the fact that Heath Slater even got any airtime on something like that, but there was a lot that I felt they could have emphasized more. The poker game was a great running segment, but there was some people at that I felt could have easily had a bit more time doing something else. But it was one big 3-hour nostalgia trip, and that is kind of what you expect. But yeah, I felt the pain of the people at the Manhattan Center all night. I'm just like, these guys cannot be having a good time staring up at a big screen for the first hour of this show. They got The Undertaker, they got DX, they got the Too Sweet moment, but I just don't understand why you couldn't have booked it to where you're alternating back and forth every other match or every other segment, because I feel like they've done that before, but I honestly couldn't recall the situation that they had done a dual event, but I feel like I've seen it.
Was it a WrestleMania 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Could have been. Well, and then I was reminded of a time that they've had Raw in New York, and they would throw it to Big Show, like every commercial break. He would be at like headquarters or some party in the middle of Times Square, and they did that effectively. Not that it was like what this was, but they kept we'll go back to Big Show, who's down in the center of New York for the big Raw party right now, and they did like a bit or a segment, and they came back. So it could have been better executed, but oh well. Miz won the title again, so that was good. And now we're looking forward to the Royal Rumble. But one last thing I did want to touch on, not Royal Rumble related, was on SmackDown Live, the U.S. title tournament. I was a bit taken back by that. The tournament itself was a great idea. I have nothing wrong with that. It was the people in it. Okay, so Rude and Corbin made sense, but Xavier Woods? Why wasn't like Rusev and Shinsuke and other kind of mid-card guys in this? It just seemed very thrown together, very obvious, very forced, and then in the end, very rushed. And Shayne,
Did Xavier earn a spot into the tournament, or was he just originally?
He was just randomly placed in there.
Yeah, they just threw everybody.
I apologize. I apologize for not knowing completely. I know a lot of it, but I've spaced and I've missed a few. I'm trying to stay current as the best I can.
It's okay. But yeah, it just kind of seemed like everybody was thrown in. There wasn't like qualifying matches or anything, but there was just. Okay. Mojo Rawley against Zack Ryder made sense. Baron Corbin, I thought, though, him and Bobby Roode, I didn't agree with them being a first-round match. I thought that could have waited for the second or even the final round. Jinder did make sense, keep him away from the main title picture. But yeah, the Xavier Woods thing, I didn't understand. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, where's Rusev? Where is Shinsuke? Where are these other mid-card guys that aren't in the main title picture? And so I was a little confused at everything, and it just seemed so obvious who was going to win. And then that happened, and they rushed it. I thought it was supposed to culminate at the Rumble, and then all of a sudden it was supposed to be last night's SmackDown, and then they ended up doing it last week. So it was a little odd there. Shayne, what were your thoughts on the title tournament?
You're right about Xavier Woods, Ty Dillinger. They were just kind of thrown in there for no good reason. But I think they did that because they didn't want to put Rusev and Shinsuke in there. They wanted to keep the fans focusing on them for the Royal Rumble. I think that was WWE's goals in keeping them out of that U.S. title tournament. But yeah, it was obvious going in that Bobby Roode was going to win it. And I think they pulled it off the Rumble card because they realized that they tried to fit that match in with the 2 Rumble matches, the 2 tag team matches, the triple threat, the handicap match of the WWE Championship. That card was already going to be way too full if they added the U.S. title match to it.
Yeah,
so they pulled it off
like
and put it on
hours.
SmackDown instead. It's looking like 6 or 7 hours.
Seriously.
That's a lot.
I know. I still wonder what the official runtime is advertised and then what it'll actually be. I know that the Rumbles have been kind of that flexible one just because there's so much that goes into it. But yeah, when they just kept adding and adding and adding to it, I was like, what are you doing? Like you know that you have like 2 Rumbles in this one, right? Like,
Yeah.
you didn't forget about the women's one. Which
And they're not adding like small matches. They're adding like 2 out of 3 matches.
Like,
Right.
what
Two out
are
of
you
3
doing?
falls. Yeah.
2 out of 3 falls, a handicap match. I just wow.
I'm waiting for later this week when they announce that the Raw Tag Team title is a 60-minute Iron Man match that we have to sit through.
They might as well at this point. I mean, they've got everything
Yeah,
else in
right.
there. So final thoughts as far as this is the last week until the Rumble, and I feel like I'm going to make my official predictions at the end of this as far as who I think will win definitively, because I made my want and who I think from both brands for both the men's and women's, but I'll narrow it down to one from each and my reasons why. So any last thoughts on any sort of build up? Raw kind of, they had an opportunity to build a little more to it using the Raw 25, but I feel like they didn't even allude to it at all. Let's go with Amanda on this.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I think just because of the Raw 25, they lost a little momentum of build up going into the Rumble, but I still think, again, I think the Rumble is such an up in the air card right now, which is awesome. I love the fact that there's going to be big surprises, or I hope that there's going to be big surprises.
Shayne, what did you think about the last 2 shows before the Rumble?
I felt like SmackDown did a lot better job building for the Rumble than Raw did, especially the Women's Rumble.
Yeah.
Raw tried to do that 8-women tag, and at the end, Asuka threw everyone over, but it kind of fell flat when Asuka was doing it. It just didn't connect the same way that Becky Lynch doing it on Tuesday night did. And I think it's just because more people want to see Becky win than they want to see Asuka win. Maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like because of that, SmackDown did a better job of building for the Rumble than Raw 25 did.
And then I don't know, Pete, how much did you see, and what did you feel about any build up to the Rumble?
Excuse me. All I saw was Raw. I didn't see SmackDown, unfortunately. But I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. SmackDown definitely did a lot better. And I know that they didn't have like a 25th anniversary special or anything to deal with, but there could have been a lot of ways to kind of, intertwine everything going on. But what Raw...
I wonder if Raw could have just, postponed the 25th anniversary, a couple weeks. Did it, you know what I mean? Is it on the day, the absolute day? It couldn't have been, postponed to 2 weeks. It's like they were building... It's like, hey, here's a big show, and then a week later, another big show. It's kind of hard to build 2 big shows.
Yeah, and I'll give you that point because I don't know if they could have done it on another night. It seems like they could have waited 2 weeks because obviously the Mondays after pay-per-views are such a big thing. But yeah, I mean, for them to kind of hit the brakes the week of a big pay-per-view because they've yeah, I agree. That was an interesting choice.
I think it would have been more special to do it the Monday night after the Royal Rumble, because you have all those legends that show up at the Rumble event, and then they come out Monday night, and you can just kind of see them, say Heath Slater throws Ron Simmons out of the, I'm just cherry picking names, but say Heath Slater throws Ron Simmons out of the Rumble, and the next night Ron Simmons can kind of give Heath Slater props. You got me, kid, but I'll get you next year. That kind of stuff. It would make more sense to do it that way instead of do it the Monday before if you want to have a big Legends Raw.
Or even better.
That's a great idea.
If you do it the Monday after the Rumble, you could have it where the winner comes out and there's a big moment, and then Vince comes out to like congratulate him or whatever he's going to do. Then Stone Cold comes out and stunners Vince and then has a beer with the winner of the Rumble and then gives him a stunner, kind of like a welcome to the club thing. I mean, there's a lot of ways, a lot of routes that you could have done this. I just don't know if those were thought all the way through, or if it was just like, we got to advertise and cash in, and Vince always sees dollar signs, so I mean that's how that's how he books.
Yeah, he's a genius in that sense, man.
Very, very much so.
So with SmackDown, was it the finals of the tournament? Was it this one, or did it happen last week?
It happened last week. So Bobby Roode came out as the champion this week.
What was the final? It was Bobby Roode and Jinder.
Yep.
Man, I liked Jinder as champion.
You're crazy, man.
I loved it, man.
I think you're the 1% of the WWE or the wrestling crowd that did.
I think so. He was such a good piece of shit. You just hated him.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, the problem that they have with people being in certain spotlights is what they did to get there. I mean, that's what people have a problem with Roman Reigns, because they don't feel like in the beginning that he really had earned his shots, and for Jinder it was kind of the same way. Like, if these guys had put in the work, so to speak, I feel people probably would have been a bit more receptive. But for Jinder, he's getting eliminated in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal by Rob Gronkowski, and then he's champion like 2 weeks later. So it was kind of a bit of a, polar bear plunge shock factor on that one.
I like the shock factor, because it is just kind of out of nowhere. Well, and I think he did earn it. He got in the best shape of his life. He looks absolutely phenomenal. He got over with those the two cruiserweight guys, and he the Singh brothers. Yeah, he got over with the Singh brothers, helped him get over, and then he's a product. He's just a product of perfect timing, perfect place, and he ran with it, man. Their India deal, and then him being Indian, it's just, I don't know. I love it. I love the story and success story of Jinder Mahal, and him being a piece of shit in the United States, and then in India they kind of tweak it and make him the hero. Like
he's not even from India. Like, he's from Canada. God.
It's the best, but that's even better. That's incredible. It's amazing. It's a success story. Amazing. I love it.
Well, he definitely looks the part, so I guess that says something. But I love watching Shayne's and Peter's reactions on here, because Amanda doesn't have her video on, so I can't see her reactions to anything. But so here we are, home stretch. There's NXT happening tonight. We'll have TakeOver Saturday, which is always kind of the bar setter, and they've done really well about setting the bar those weekends. Very happy.
How dope is Aleister Black?
Oh, so good. I want Aleister Black and Demon Finn Balor at like a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania. Like, I cannot wait for that match.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Really would be. So the Royal Rumble, then, this is the tone setter for WrestleMania and basically the calendar year, because it's the first pay-per-view of the year, and a lot of people will set their expectations based on how this one comes out. So, I mean, we can get into the actual matches on this. The handicap match is interesting. It's kind of odd at the same time. I think Sami Zayn as a heel is absolute gold on SmackDown. Yeah. He should be like their number one heel by now. Kevin Owens definitely doing good, but I honestly don't think that Sami's going to have any problem when they split if they keep him heel, because he's done so well as far as picking up his weight and holding up his end of the deal. And that's been my thoughts on this. But I am a little confused as to why there isn't a true number one contender going into something like this, when this shapes what we can expect to see at WrestleMania, especially given that Elimination Chamber is a Raw pay-per-view. So this is it for SmackDown, pending some kind of super show that the off-brand will do when the other gets a pay-per-view. But Shayne, what do you think about this handicap match?
Yeah, it's a weird. Oh, it's a weird premise. I don't think I've ever. I know I've never seen a handicap match for the WWE Championship. I think this is the first time I've ever seen one. So it's hard to predict because, man, you could. My biggest thing is I could see AJ Styles beating Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens easily in this match. However, I'm not sure, and this is getting a little bit ahead in our predictions, but I'm not sure if Shinsuke wins the Royal Rumble. I'm not sure Vince wants to have Shinsuke versus AJ at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not.
You'd have to be stupid to not want that, but
Yeah.
I know. Well, but you got to think about this from where Vince would look at it. Does he want? I mean, I know what he did with AJ Styles, but does he want his biggest competitor, New Japan, one of their best guys, to come in and take his belt off of? I mean, I know AJ Styles isn't really his guy, but off of his biggest guy in his company right now.
Yeah, maybe he loses.
That's what I'm saying. AJ loses. Kevin and Sammy go in to WrestleMania to face whoever. And
No, AJ maybe
we get-
AJ wins, and then I think AJ would win. AJ wins, and then when you build on what you were saying, Shinsuke loses ultimately.
that would be crazy. But it would extend
That
it out.
Yeah, that I could see it working for what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
and you would get your New Japan match, and then your Raw main event is your WWF main event match. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? That sounds like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vince is very much a momentum guy, and he's got the New Japan momentum right now after Omega
Absolutely.
and Jericho. So I don't see why he wouldn't try to cash in on that in some way. I don't know if he'd go so far as to have Shinsuke win the Rumble because Vince with these guys that came from other companies, it seems like he likes to show them around, kind of like the dog show, but as far as putting them into any kind of permanent spotlight, he kind of knocks them back down a little bit. And I don't know why he does that, why he's such a WWE born and bred guy, but that's how he's always been. If you think about when WCW talent came over, how long did it take Booker T to finally win a title and he was one of the first that came over after that.
Yeah.
So Vince, when it comes to guys from other organizations and company, it always makes me a little uneasy just to see what's going to happen with them. AJ has kind of been the exception to that, and I think that's because the fans almost, they wouldn't have it any other way.
They bought all his. They bought his shirts.
Yeah.
So you prove it with your dollar. Yeah, Vince is not. He's not dumb.
No.
Have they been building, like hinting at anybody to win the Rumble?
No.
It's been very up in the air. That's cool.
Well, I mean, Shinsuke was having a pretty good match against Baron Corbin on SmackDown, but then Randy Orton came out mid-match and RKO'd Shinsuke as he was going for his finisher. So it looked like they were kind of building Shinsuke up to go into the Rumble looking strong, but then they did what they did with Randy.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of killed any momentum Shinsuke had going in. So yeah, right now the only person that I hear everyone complaining about possibly winning is Roman Reigns. It's because he lost the IC title on Monday night.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and that's kind of something that we see the week of, is we see someone who looks like they have the obvious momentum, and I thought for sure that was going to be Cena, but then Elias, whatever that was, just dismantled Cena on the 25th anniversary. But there was nobody other than Orton in that moment that Shayne referenced that I really saw that stood head and shoulders above the rest as far as, that's the guy that looks like he's going to win it. And then, of course, they don't. But, it's like they usually pick someone that, like, as they're signing off for the night, like, oh, looks like this is going to be their year. And then it's not. But I didn't see that.
Who won last year?
Orton.
Orton.
Right.
That's probably what they're hitting with him standing tall at the end is like, hey, here's last year's guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes
Can you
sense.
do it? Can you do it again? Kind of bullshit, you know.
Amanda, what do you think about this handicap match for the title on SmackDown?
It's definitely weird to have a championship title as a handicap match, but I also think that's building two stories because you're then building the Daniel Bryan versus Shane McMahon story. And then I was also thinking, like, in a handicap match, AJ Styles doesn't need to get pinned. So if Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens team up and get him out of the ring somehow, can't they just pin each other and win?
No, they're on the same team.
So how does that?
Oh.
I was going to ask that. How does that?
Oh,
work?
right.
If Sammy pins AJ, he's the champ, and if Kevin pins AJ, he's the champ.
WWE's billing it as they'll be co-champs. So instead, I don't know if they're going to give them 2 belts or if they're just going to share the belt, or I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're billing it as if Kevin and Sammy win, they would be co-champions of WWE.
Which the only time I can recall that there was something like this was Michelle McCool and Layla as I feel like that was self-proclaimed co-champions though.
Didn't Jericho and Chyna share the IC belt at one point?
Oh, that's going way back. I can't remember on that one.
Well, no. Technically, a few years back, Cena and CM Punk were co-champ at one point in time when Punk was going to leave WWE.
And he came back, that's right.
Yeah, that whole balloon.
Yeah.
Which I've always found that to be really humorous whenever someone like leaves with the title. Rob Van Dam did it when ECW came back and he won the title and left with it. It's like there's all this talk about like what's going to happen if they leave with it, and it's just like, oh, let's just make a new one and crown a new champion like a week later. It's always really over dramatic, and it's kind of something that I wish they wouldn't do. But I really was hoping for a CM Punk Cena like moment between Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, and that never happened. But man, Ziggler on that last night with the title, that was so good on SmackDown. That was executed perfectly.
Yeah.
The other big title match, triple threat. We've got Braun Strowman, everybody's favorite big man, who will tell you amazing stories, and Kane, and then of course Brock Lesnar. This one I feel like is just to put these names on the card, because I don't really see that they didn't do it for Braun earlier when they had the perfect chance to. I don't see why they would do it now, but he definitely deserves to be there. He's the guy that has won over a lot of the fans, and I know that there was some backstage heat because of his meteoric rise to where he was. But, you know, if the fans want it, then it's usually like kind of a pass to, okay, you know, like we get it. But I don't see a scenario where Lesnar doesn't walk out as the champion in this one. This could be over in probably 10, 15 minutes. Shane, what do you think about this one?
I think Kane's going to win it. I'm kidding. I think Kane is taking the pin. I think the only reason Kane is in the match is to eat the pin. They don't want Braun to eat the pin. It makes him look weak. So Kane is out there. But yeah, I don't see. I think it's going to be a 10, 15 minute just tear down the house, brawl, beat each other up. No announce tables left standing. Steel chairs all over the ring. The steps are thrown all over the place kind of match. And I would imagine Braun probably hits a running power slam on Kane. Brock comes in, F5's Braun. Braun rolls out of the ring. Brock pins Kane and walks out as champion. I would imagine that would probably be the way that it's going to get done. Or maybe Kane Tombstone Piledrivers Braun, and then Brock F5's Kane and pins Kane. I don't know. But one way or another, Kane's eating the pinfall. But they got to get everybody out of the ring to do it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to think that Kane's just a pawn in this. I mean, I get it.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah, I get it.
I love Kane.
Yeah, he's been such a big part of Raw. Like he's been involved in the most matches for 25 years, and he's just kind of that guy to take the fall now. Oh.
Yep.
Peter?
I agree with Shane. with pretty much what he said. I could see I could see the finish of the match going a different way, potentially, just because it's WWE and sometimes they'll try to swerve you. But most of what he said with like the madness and the chairs and all that and just the crazy madness, yeah, that's most likely what it will be, and that's cool. That's what Brock is now, and that's what Strowman is now, and then you got Kane in the mix too, tearing it up.
And either of these, in either of these title matches, has anyone seen any kind of interference to help set up? Because we focus so much on the Rumble and the 30 bodies in the ring to help kind of filter and bottleneck a few storylines out for Mania, but we forget that there's other matches going on too. Is there any kind of scenario where there's someone that starts something that we see carry on through until WrestleMania for either of these matches?
Well, I don't. Go ahead, Amanda.
The only one that I would see would be in the AJ and Cammy match. Would be like Shane McMahon getting involved, and then Daniel Bryan coming out, and that building WrestleMania. But as for Braun and Brock and Kane, no, I don't see anybody interfering in that.
Yeah, the whole Shane and Daniel Bryan thing is still kind of throwing me for a loop because he hasn't been cleared to wrestle, has he?
I mean, unless WWE is keeping it extremely quiet, he has not been cleared to wrestle. Unless they're just doing a damn good job of letting no one know.
They don't know how to do that, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I always wondered how people got away with leaking stuff because, I mean, I get that there's so many eyes backstage, but how do you just not confiscate phones at the beginning of an event so it's not 5 minutes in they're just like, oh my god, CM Punk was spotted backstage? It's just I don't get how they're letting people get away with leaking information and not consequences, but that's just me. So the Shane and Daniel Bryan thing is very odd, but so if he's not cleared, is somebody going to fight in his stead? Is that what we're ultimately leaning towards as far as some type of WrestleMania culmination? It's Shane McMahon versus the wrestler of Daniel Bryan's choosing in Hell in a Cell, and Shane jumps off it again like we see every year.
Or I mean, I could see WWE doing a Kevin and Sammy fight for Daniel, and Shane picks either a tag team, or Shane picks a tag team partner, or Shane picks a tag team to go up against. And it could be a good way for WWE to bring up someone like Authors of Pain or War Machine, who they just signed. Bring them up and fight in Shane's stead. And if Shane wins, Daniel leaves SmackDown, and if Daniel wins, I don't know, Shane has to jump off 2 Hell in Cells. I don't know, because they can't make him leave SmackDown. He's not going to go anywhere. But I could see WWE doing something like that.
Hair versus hair. That's what I'm voting for.
I don't think Shane McMahon would go bald.
Oh yeah, it would be.
He would look weird.
He really would. He already looks enough like his dad.
Yeah.
All right, so now to the meat of it. The Rumble, we have not one but two, a women's Royal Rumble match and a men's Royal Rumble match. And,
So, for sure, the pay-per-view is going to be most likely sandwiched with Rumble matches. Which one do you think will go first?
I think it's got to be the women's.
Yeah,
Gotta be the
women's match.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to give the women the closing matches as well. That's too much.
Yeah, they did it the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, but this is one of the big four, and I think it's already kind of sold itself with the fact that they're having one for the women. So I don't think this is necessarily like a battle over someone trying to establish dominance, but I just think that for...
Oh, no way. Yeah, just...
For viewership-wise, yeah. But my pick would be...
I'm sure they'll keep it traditional.
Yeah. So for the women then, and Amanda, I'm sure that you've had your thoughts on seeing the first ever Women's Rumble be announced, but is there any sort of clear-cut name that comes to mind? I keep seeing Ronda Rousey, and I really don't want that to be the case because WWE has failed numerous times when they build up a big moment like this. Santina Marella winning Mrs. WrestleMania, And then you had Ellsworth assisting Carmella for the first women's Money in the Bank. It's just like, you got to stop paving the way for these strong women and then just shitting on it like that. So nothing against Ronda Rousey, but she was not one of the women that helped get this to where it is. And for that, I think there is a great list of well-deserving women that very well should be, and I hope one of them is come that last, elimination on Sunday. So Shayne, what do you think about the women's one? Is there anyone that stands above the rest, and how would you book this as far as leading into Mania?
Well, I would probably have, if I was booking it, I would have Becky Lynch kind of fill the Iron Man spot, Iron Woman spot, come out at number 1 and fight all the way through until the end. Just because she has the charisma and the in-ring talent to do it over, the only other one on the roster that I would trust to do that would be Charlotte Flair, and she's the champion. And so I would put Becky Lynch in that spot. I think Asuka's the odds-on favorite to win the match, but Becky Lynch is definitely a very, very strong dark horse, because I don't think Asuka needs to win the match to make the match at WrestleMania between her and Alexa. But I think Becky Lynch may need that added credibility to get that match against Charlotte.
Yeah, and on that note, it's like I said before, everybody has kind of had their own thing. With Paige, she was the first NXT champion, and then she won the title on Raw her first night. And then, of course, you had Charlotte Flair, who was undefeated on pay-per-views for so long. And then you had, Carmella was the first Money in the Bank winner. So everyone on that roster has had sort of their moment, and it's been something different. So for Asuka, it's her streak, and I don't really feel like she needs anything else to add to her credibility. There's nothing really in it for her to win, and this is going to be the easiest match for her to technically lose if she were to get eliminated and still hold that record intact. So I personally would like to see anyone as far as Sasha, Nia, Natalya, Becky be the last one. But I do kind of wonder now, since Shayne brought up Becky and possibly entering number 1, I wonder how they'll play that. The number 1 spot for this will be very important, but do we think that they sort of have it mapped out yet as far as any significance to people entering at different moments, or is this being the first Women's Rumble going to be kind of enough as is? Peter, what do you think about that?
You think the Rumble will be enough as is?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have. I just keep thinking about who I want to see, and all I want to see is Ivory. I want Ivory to come out, and that's all I want. So we'll see what they do. I like, and I think if Asuka does lose this match, I don't think that would break her undefeated streak, because she's undefeated in just singles matches, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that they do that technicality bullshit like that, and who knows. It'll be interesting, though, for sure, because do they have 30 women? I know they have a lot of women.
There's a lot returning, and I kind of thought that they were going to allude more into who specifically with the Raw 25th anniversary. I personally wanted to see a big women's video package for all the divas and women that have, been through the company throughout the years. Lita wasn't there, and there wasn't even sort of anything that... And she was huge in the Attitude Era, so that was kind of disappointing for the Raw 25th.
Yeah, because Trish was there, right?
Trish was there,
yeah.
Kelly, Tori Wilson. So I thought that there would be some kind of hint as to who we could expect to see return for the Women's Rumble. I thought interference during that women's tag match for sure, and then it just didn't happen. So I don't know who's supposed to be in it that's returning from like out of retirement or anything, but there is going to be 30 women in this.
Who do you think they're going to bring up from NXT?
That's a good question, because they already brought up 6 women from NXT. Do they borrow them for a night? Because it wasn't Ty Dillinger one that came up for the night and then he went back to NXT?
Yeah.
So
yeah, they always do that. They did it in 2015 with Bo Dallas. They did it in maybe that was 2014. But they always bring 2015 was Kevin Owens, 2016 was Sami Zayn, 2017 was Ty Dillinger. They always bring at least one or two NXT guys up to showcase at the Rumble, and that's why I think the Iconic Duo could be two that could come up.
Yeah, I was going to say Peyton Royce.
I think it'd be huge to have Candice LeRae debut at the Rumble and then go back to NXT after she, comes in at 10 or 15 or whatever. She just got signed. Her name is still huge. If she comes out, the crowd's going to pop because she's a huge indie star. And then she runs down, does a little bit, and then goes down to NXT and kind of gets better at the WWE way of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, who do you want to see win this thing?
Asuka.
Really?
I love her. I love her. Hands down. Give her everything. Give her all the titles.
No one's ready for Asuka. And I think that, I wouldn't be mad at that pick. I just definitely think that she's someone like Brock Lesnar who really doesn't need it. And so for that, I would like to see it kind of open the door for somebody else. My pick, personally, is for Becky, just because Charlotte, who said on my show, actually, back in September, that her dream match is a title match against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Now, of course, unless your name is John Cena and you happen to be, maybe his girlfriend or now fiance, then WWE doesn't grant wishes like that for matches. But it could be something that isn't too far-fetched, because Becky still kills it out there every Tuesday night on SmackDown Live, and the crowd was chanting for her. So I could see a woman from the SmackDown side winning, just because it would be that moment for Charlotte's next challenger, because that's obviously going to be the premier women's match on the WrestleMania card, and Asuka already has the number one contendership locked up on Raw for Alexa Bliss, but who knows? So my pick, Becky Lynch, it'll be, or a SmackDown woman that wins the first Women's Royal Rumble, and that's the one that I was going to go with tonight. So there you have that. Shane, you have like a final pick on this, one that you're confident about?
Oh, yeah, I agree with you, Becky Lynch. Like I said, I think Asuka's the odds-on favorite, but Becky Lynch is my favorite to win. Just because the potential match and feud it could set up between her and Charlotte. Even if we see a little bit of a heel turn from Becky at the Rumble, because someone has to play the heel going in to WrestleMania, and I think Charlotte's doing a pretty good job being a babyface, and it makes more sense for Becky to play the heel, because since NXT, Charlotte has gotten everything handed to her. She got, the NXT title. Becky never won the NXT Women's title. They come to WWE. Charlotte gets all the Divas Championship opportunities. Becky never got it. Becky had to go get drafted to a show away from Charlotte before she got a Women's Championship opportunity, So there's more of a storyline if Becky plays a little bit of a heel or a pissed off friend going into WrestleMania than if Charlotte plays the heel. So the storyline is bigger if Becky wins than it is if Asuka wins.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Peter, you have a favorite in this one? Other than
I'll say Becky.
Okay, I was going to say other than your previous one. And then
Ivory. Ivory's got this in the bag now.
And then Amanda, are you going to stick with Asuka on this?
I am.
All right, so there we have it. 3 for Becky, 1 for Asuka. One last question I wanted to ask about the women's portion of it. Is there any reason to think that this could be something that a Bayley wins, because their character has fallen so hard over the last year? Is the Rumble a good opportunity to kind of breathe life back into someone, or is that just reaching too far?
I think that's reaching too far. I think Bayley needs a whole character makeover.
Yeah, she does. It's been rough.
Well, the thing about the Royal Rumble is you can breathe life into someone's character through the Rumble without them having to win it.
Yeah, that's very true.
You can give someone a rebirth by having them get eliminated. If Becky gets eliminated by Shayna Baszler, someone from NXT, and it just pisses her off. She goes on a rampage on Raw. it can rebirth her just from that. She gets eliminated early on and by a rookie call up from NXT or something like that.
Or the most eliminations.
Or you give her, you don't have to have her win to give her a rebirth. You can give her something else in the Rumble to make the fans care more about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way I see this playing out, because I think, unfortunately, Nia's part will be nothing more than just the women's version of Kane as far as going in there and clearing out some of the herd. But I could see Nia, Asuka, and Becky being the final three. Becky eliminates both of them, and then you have Nia versus Asuka for the number one contender against Alexa Bliss. That would be a nice way to book it, just because Nia's done very well for herself, even without the help of Enzo, which was just kind of a weird storyline that I'm glad is done now. But Nia's been very good on Raw, and so hopefully this is an opportunity for her too. So that brings us to the men's. This is the big one. There's going to be a few spots that you kind of scratch your head at, like, oh, he's still alive, he's still around, and then there's going to be, a few where you're just like, really? Like, he had a spot in this? Okay, so that being said, though, I have my pick, but I'll go over that after we get a few thoughts here from Shayne. How do you feel about the women's portion of this Rumble, and who do you like in it?
You mean the men's portion of the Rumble?
Did I say that? Didn't I say that?
You said women's. Yeah,
did I?
That's okay.
All right,
yeah,
I meant
we'll
men's.
Forgive you. We'll give you a pass. I don't know. This one is so much harder to pick than the women's, because there's not, like in the women, there's two clear-cut favorites from each show, and the men's there really isn't. They haven't built the Royal Rumble at all for the men, other than the men just coming out and saying, "I declare for the Royal Rumble."
Yeah, those videos have been weird too.
Yeah. It would be nice to see somebody like Rusev not win, but get a really, really good spot in this match.
I'd love it.
It'd be nice to see an undercard guy like Ty Dillinger, or, pick someone from Raw to get a good spot. Of course, Kofi Kingston is going to have his crazy spot where he keeps from getting eliminated somehow. As far as picking a winner, it is really, really, because once again, I don't think Roman needs to win to build to his match at WrestleMania.
No.
So that leaves you with someone on SmackDown has to win, and the only person on SmackDown that makes any sense is Shinsuke. But I don't know if I'm comfortable enough giving Shinsuke the Royal Rumble win this early on in his career, in his WWE career.
So Shinsuke is a popular pick, and I do like it. I'm not mad at it at all. But I think, and I had this thought last night, I don't know where it came from, but so my pick to win the Rumble is going to be Finn Balor because of what we saw on Raw. I know it wasn't much, but for me it was like just enough to kind of hint at, so we're back to here now with Finn Balor. And what I would love to see is him win it and then challenge AJ Styles at Mania, because we all had that match preview, when they had to cross-promote and wrestle each other, and it was fantastic. I know that you would get just as good of a match from Shinsuke and AJ, but I feel like Finn is going to have his hands tied behind his back as long as he's on Raw. If he moves to SmackDown, there's so much more opportunity for him there. And I think if he brings the club with him, like when they do the Superstar Shakeup, they could send those guys over there easy. Nobody would even blink. But when you win the Rumble, unless my knowledge has changed, the rules have changed, you can challenge for whichever one you want. And I would love to see Finn win and then challenge AJ and have that match at Mania. Yeah. So, Peter, your thoughts on the men's portion?
Man, I didn't even think about Finn. But that's a good choice. I was just going to say they're probably just going to do a Randy Orton again, or Roman Reigns, or just like John Cena comes in, wins the title at Mania, give him the record over Ric Flair or something,
Yeah.
But I could, Finn is I think a good choice. I'm not sure. I can't pick one, so I'm just going to say Ivory again.
I thought you were going to say Goldust this time, and I was like,
Goldust would be awesome, man. I hope as long as Goldust is in there. That'd be fantastic because he's rocking and rolling, man. He's tearing it up.
Yeah, he's been really good lately. I'm happy for him, but I think Finn is a good choice. It would be a very popular choice. Would make a lot of people happy. It'd be a great opportunity for him in so many ways. But I would like to see that. Cena is in there, and everybody. Well, I don't think anybody wants him to win his 17th, but I know that Vince wants him to have the record for whatever sick, twisted reason that is. But Amanda, what do you think about the men's portion of the Rumble?
Okay, so I have like a really far out idea.
I love it.
Where that Dolph Ziggler is going to come in at entering 30, and he's going to end up winning.
Wow, I wouldn't even be mad about that. I wouldn't. I think that would be fantastic.
Right?
Well,
I would like it.
You want a really, really far out idea. What if CM Punk returns at 30 and wins and challenges AJ Styles for the WWE title?
As much as I would love that match,
that's a dream match.
He's been blocking people for just alluding to him maybe coming back at Raw 25, so I don't think he's going to be at the Rumble. I would love to see it, but there's a
but
few
then my
dark
actual
horses.
pick would be Shinsuke.
Yeah, and Shinsuke, that would be well deserved. I think Finn definitely deserves it too, and that's what makes me happy about those picks is that, this is an opportunity, I'd say more so than what you get from the winner of the Money in the Bank, and more so what you get from, really any kind of instant number one contendership like you do with the Rumble. Like it's a big moment, and you definitely want to give it to somebody that has sort of earned their keep, and that the fans will accept. And I think Finn Balor and Shinsuke are perfect picks from both brands. I would love to see Finn get it and go on to challenge AJ. They could even mix it up and go back all WrestleMania 20 style and have it be a triple threat between him, AJ, and Shinsuke, and that would blow people's minds.
Well, that was what I thought too, but then I thought that would kind of take away from Finn if you did that, if you made it a triple threat. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that match.
Well, Finn's the feel-good story.
3 New Japan guys going at it.
Yeah, and Finn's the feel-good story right now because he never did get his rematch for the title from when he had to vacate it because of his injury, and I've always felt like that's been a great injustice. But for him and his subliminal tweets and everything about not being over and being over and then getting the club back together, I just feel like the time is kind of right for him. So I'd like to see that. Who's going to come up from NXT for the men, Shane?
Well, early on pick was Drew McIntyre, but then he got hurt at the last TakeOver event, unfortunately. I could see Johnny Gargano coming up after he loses at TakeOver Saturday. I think it's too early to have Aleister Black make an appearance. It would be nice to see him make an appearance, but I think it's too early to have him make an appearance. But yeah, okay. I'm going to go with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, and Ciampa eliminates Gargano from the Royal Rumble event, leading to a match between the two at TakeOver right before WrestleMania.
I could see Aleister Black, just because I feel like there's a lot of talent that would be in the Rumble that you could tease pairing him up with for future pay-per-view matches. I could also see Velveteen Dream, just because they do love a good gimmick to get in the mix for the Rumble. So I could see that.
Could you imagine Velveteen Dream and Goldust in the ring at the same time at the Royal Rumble?
Exactly what I was going to say. Gimmick versus gimmick would be one of those great Rumble moments. But
that'd be cool. That would be cool.
It would be really cool. So that I thought Drew was projected to be ring ready come the Rumble. Like that was kind of Drew McIntyre was one return I was expecting, and that was his move to the main roster was with the Rumble.
When did he get hurt? What month?
It was the last TakeOver. It was Survivor Series. So that was
November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a Triceps Tear is a 6-month injury normally. So that puts him out at WrestleMania time is when he's coming back.
Yeah, that's still a good return.
I did the math when he got hurt and it came back. He's supposed to come back at WrestleMania. So unless he's just doing really, really good with his recovery, he's gone until WrestleMania time, unfortunately.
Peter, how accurate is that estimation as far as a triceps tear?
I've never torn a tricep.
Thankfully,
yeah. But I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. You're out for a long time if it's pretty severe. So, but who knows? He could be a freak of nature and heal tomorrow.
He could be the next John Cena and come back in 2 months from a blown out knee.
Yeah, there you go.
But I wanted to throw this in. One guy, he was there at Raw 25, but he kind of flew under the radar. He was backstage in the poker segments, and everyone saw him, but he didn't do anything spectacular. Was MVP, and I think that's one guy that could show up at the Rumble, just kind of do a little one-off, couple eliminations, get eliminated himself. But I think that'd be a nice surprise entrant into the Rumble this Sunday.
He looked good. Yeah, I thought I didn't hardly recognize him without the cornrows, but he looked good. And it was a guy who I had to Google a few weeks ago. I was like, what happened to MVP? And I thought he was a great talent because I was looking up. I did a Twitter poll, worst championship reign ever, and it was the big four. There was Luke Harper's Intercontinental run. There was Orlando Jordan's U.S. title run, Vince McMahon's ECW championship run, and then, of course, Jinder Mahal's WWE run. I thought the Vince one was going to run away with it, but the Jinder one was actually the most popular vote for the worst title run ever. But
damn.
Yeah, the MVP, though, he was a U.S. title holder, and he was really popular back in the day, and then he just kind of vanished. But there's a lot of really good talent and every time that we get to the Rumble, and a lot that I would really like to see in there, and then it always seems like they waste a good handful of spots, whether it's from quick eliminations or returning legends, which I get it, nostalgia, but at the same time, when they take up a spot and you don't have a guy that should have been an obvious pick to be in it, you kind of get a little upset at that, because like if they put a legend in, and let's say, Seth Rollins is in there too, that's fine. But if you replace him with somebody that there's really no point in them being in there, it's a little disappointing. The Jason Jordan Seth Rollins thing has been incredibly entertaining because of how much people hate Jason Jordan. Is there anything that we can take away from what might happen with Jason Jordan in the Rumble this weekend?
I think I think it all comes down to what happens with the tag matches. I think the losing team of the tag team match will be in the Rumble. The winning team is going to stay out of it. So if Sheamus and Cesaro win the tag match, then I could see Rollins and Jordan entering the Rumble and having a little segment where maybe Jordan causes Rollins to get eliminated inadvertently. But other than that, I think that's the only thing. I think that's the only way we could really see any kind of scuffle between Rollins and Jordan at the Rumble. Or maybe at the Rumble, Jordan proves himself to Rollins, and Rollins learns that he can actually trust him. And I doubt it. I doubt they go that way with it. But that's the only other possibility.
Rollins is just not having any of Jason Jordan, and I love it so much every week that I see just the look of disapproval on his face when Jason Jordan opens his mouth. I'd like to see some sort of interaction with Elias and John Cena again. I hope we get that at the Rumble. And maybe
I think Elias is going to eliminate John Cena and is going to set up a Cena-Elias match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it could be. Undertaker apparently officially announcing his retirement in a weird way at the Manhattan Center.
So weird.
It was, and it would have been so much. Like the whole speech would have been better had he not just lost to Roman Reigns, because it's like he's talking about all these years of burying people. I was like, except that last guy, you didn't. That one stings still. Amanda, your locked in pick for the men's portion of the Rumble.
God.
Gold dust is taken.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Shinsuke.
Shinsuke. All right. So you like the Asian persuasion on both ends, Asuka and Shinsuke. And then I picked Finn Balor to make the jump to SmackDown. And then, Shane, what was your final pick on that?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shinsuke, too. I like the Finn Balor pick, but I think they need him on Raw a lot worse than SmackDown needs him. So I'm gonna stick with Shinsuke winning.
All right, and Pete.
I'm gonna say John Cena.
All right, that's the safe pick, right? It's like picking the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl. So
that's right.
One last thing here before we wrap this all up. There was, like I said, a few segments that didn't happen on the Raw 25th anniversary. One, I was hoping for a women's video package from all the divas in women's division, and that didn't happen. But another thing that didn't happen, and I feel like is like not funny as this is, it's the truth for how long it could have possibly gone. There was no in memoriam segment on Raw 25, and that, I mean, there's been a lot of them, so I don't know if it was like the runtime was unrealistic or if that's just something that you don't want to acknowledge on a night like that. But I thought it would be something that they would do, and they didn't. Shane, any thoughts on that and not seeing superstars of past that are no longer with us?
They have so many wrestlers that they want to, that not necessarily that did something wrong, but just people that they want to separate themselves from, PR wise, like China, unfortunately, because Vince still has that mindset of if he puts China on the screen and someone goes and looks up China, all they're going to find is pornography. That's Vince's. That is still Vince's mindset, believe it or not. Even though Triple H said her name on Raw 25, and then of course you have guys like Chris Benoit, people like that. That you have to look at like. We can do one of those, but if we leave those names out, we're going to make people mad. If we put those names in, we're going to make people mad. So
kind of a lose-lose.
50-50. Yeah, 50-50, shoot down the middle and just don't do it, kind of thing is why I think Raw didn't do something like that.
Peter, is that something that would, you have feelings about one way or the other to see kind of,
I honestly didn't think about it. I see him more celebrating. Celebrating as opposed to like bringing it down, because they usually will do that around the Hall of Fame time, is the in memoriam. So maybe they're saving it for the Hall of Fame still, and just kind of make the 25th anniversary more like a positive reflection. Not that in memoriam can't be a positive reflection, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it high spirits,
Yeah, and Amanda, anything to add on that? Were you surprised that you didn't see a segment like that in 25?
Maybe if they were to do just like the people who might have passed away this year, but definitely not for all. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers that have passed away in the 25 years, sadly, that it would have taken up like majority of the show.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, and because there's been a few articles that have come out, wrestlers that are no longer with us, there's some really surprising names on there, and then it just seems like that list goes on forever. So I understand why they may have not done it for several reasons, but it was just something that I thought that there would be a lot more video packages in an airing like that, and then there weren't. So I was just kind of, wondering what maybe the thought process was behind those. But hey, guys, I want to thank you so much for giving some of your time tonight to break down the Royal Rumble. It's been a lot of fun, and we can all live tweet together and see who was right and who was wrong and whose bold predictions came true. But it's Sunday, Royal Rumble, a lot of fun. So Shane, Pete, Amanda, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you guys take care. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.